My next show.
Something that we do every Tuesday night. A lot of people's favourite segment throughout the whole week of All I Do on the radio. So it says a lot, man. We sit down and we go in depth in conversation with some of your favourite artists. We've had some real legends in the building. You can still check out all of the previous in-depths on the One Extra YouTube channel. We had Jazzy B in last week, everyone from Goldie through to Bizzle, P Money, Deneo. Tonight, we do something very, very legendary. Very, very legendary. Just ahead of his third album, which is about to drop this coming Friday. Hashtag youth, of course. I'm glad I chose this beat to start it with because it's setting the vibe a little
tone,
bit.
innit? I like it, bro.
He is undoubtedly the UK's most successful rapper of all time. Like, if I were to start listing the stats to do an intro, we'd be here till 10 o'clock. We wouldn't be able to even have a chat. He needs no introduction, to be fair. But tonight, we are in depth with Tinie Tempah. Tinie, how you doing, brother?
I'm good, bro. I appreciate that, man.
No,
good to be here.
Bro,
man.
I appreciate you taking out the time. I know it's album time as well, so there's a lot going on. You could be like doing some mad promo elsewhere. You could have been in the studio doing bits and bobs. You could have been performing live somewhere, but you're here with us, man, so I appreciate that a lot, my bro.
That's all good, bro. Good to be here, man.
Right, I guess we should probably... I'd like to go back because, you know, I've heard you in interview a lot, like over the last few years, even before that. We can take it all the way back to like Channel U days when you probably popped up on like Ace and Biz on Ill Out Show or whatever.
Yes.
But, you know, on these in-depth chats, what I like to do is just really go back to the early beginnings, like what set off the career, what set off the character that you know, turned into Tinie Tempah. I want to take it back to... I like to choose a year to kind of start on. So if we were to go back to, say, I don't know, 1999, just ahead of the turn of the millennium. South East London. Where you were born and raised. What would we have found you doing, man?
So 1999, I was probably like 11. I was probably 11 in 1999. And then I guess I was just obviously still in secondary school. Just got into secondary school. So I was still a kid, basically, is what I'm trying to say. Like, I was still a kid. I lived at my mum's house, weren't allowed out, all the same typical stuff. Came from like a Nigerian background, like mum and dad are Nigerian. They came to this country, had me, had my sisters, were born in Peckham. Then we moved to Plumstead. So I lived in Peckham from the ages of from birth till about 7. I got to Plumstead at year 6. So when I got to Plumstead when I was in year 6, so by 11 years old, I would have just got into secondary school and wearing the blazer for the first time. Man's got the tie.
Were you like one of those kids who gets the extra big blazer that you got to grow into?
Chunky blazer, bro. Chunky.
We was all there, bro.
Very white. I've destroyed all the pictures anyway, so I'm calm. I know I'm calm. But yeah, so I was that kid anyway, and I guess that was really just the beginning of starting to have a mind of my own and starting to listen to my own kind of music and have my own kind of friends. And I guess the first thing I really stumbled across that wasn't like mainstream, that wasn't, you know, pop music, that wasn't, you know, just American hip-hop music, was tapes from a friend of mine called Sean Hobbs, and then from a lot of like family members as well. So I've got loads of cousins, you probably see them on Instagram, but loads of my cousins from Northwest, my cousins who were still in Peckham, they started putting me onto all these like, you know, Mega Man, So Solid Crew tapes, Asher D tapes, Supreme FM kind of tapes.
Those kind of tapes were like gold dust as well, like, because obviously this is like pre-YouTube, internet sharing, so like to get your hands on an actual cassette tape.
And you had to get it from someone who was already definitely listening to it. So they had to be a special person in your life for them to give you that. So I got those, but I was kind of at the back end of that, and then I think that's when I started getting the Nasty Crew tapes, the Roll Deep tapes. I started hearing like the likes of yourself.
Wow.
When I was 12 when I first heard about you, bro.
Wow. Like I was like 16. Man's kind of been here for a minute.
But
Crazy,
then that's when I started hearing the whole. That's when I guess it kind of moved from South and a different kind of vibe, if in my opinion, to East, and then it became like what I really see as the like first instances of grime that I actually heard. And then obviously that was like Wiley, the whole Roll Deep thing, Nasty, Sharky Major, Stormin'. Big up all the man them there, everyone. East Connection, Juki Mundo and all them lot. Then that was the Deja Vu days as well. So I was hearing all these tapes, but I was this kid that lived in Plumstead. And so obviously it seemed, I'm not gonna lie, it seemed like a very exclusive East London situation, bro. Old type my man, East London, old type my man, East London. Everyone was from East. So I was like, okay, cool. And then I guess around that time there was also a crew from South called Essentials that were bubbling at the time. But
they were kind of like the first grime crew, strictly grime crew that kind of came out of South that were getting, ringing
to
bells.
Me anyway, there might have been others, in this day and age, someone's gonna come on YouTube and go, fam, you can't say that, fam. Like,
I'm co-signing that as well, bro.
Yeah.
I
think
remember
to me,
it like that as well, man.
To me, Essentials were that, so big up Essentials as well. But I didn't know them. And for me, I felt like they had like South on lock, but then they were still quite separate to East. So then now, I guess that's just where I'm at, thinking, how am I going to get to East and how am I going to become an MC? I like this whole MCing thing. I like the whole idea of this grime thing, but it seems very exclusive. So how am I going to get in?
How did you manage it? Because like you said, even though nowadays, North, South, East, West London, even cities in the UK, they seem like they're a lot closer, mainly due to internet access and being able to share things
amazing,
instantly.
Man. Big up Bugsy, big up Miss.
That's what I'm saying.
It's amazing, bro.
It's crazy.
It wasn't like that before.
No, not at all.
Not even within London.
Exactly. And you would have had to, know somebody in the area. You would have had to travel across the area.
Yeah.
How did you manage to navigate around that distance?
So then this is what happened. So obviously I started recording, then I was using like MSN Messenger at the time. So I was just...
Wow, classic.
Any instrumental that I could find. There was all these mad sites back in the day, when I had the 56 KB as well, internet connection, all that kind of stuff. Like I just forgot. I just remembered who I was. See, it's Target. It's not like Target, but I feel like I'm at home. And then I remember downloading any instrumental I could find. Me and my friends from school. Doing freestyles, and then when I wasn't at school, me and my cousins doing freestyles. But then in my school, like I feel like there's no other MCs that's come from my school. I was the one who was into it the most, so I was kind of dragging my friends along, and then with my cousins, there was a few of them into it. But again, I kind of felt like I was dragging them along. So then over the years within the area, when you got MSN, you're sending your songs out to your people, you're bubbling in your area. So I started carving out my own little, Tinie Tempah lane. I released a mixtape called Chapter 1, Verse 1 to 22.
This is when people were firing tunes on infrared and Bluetooth and
of course.
MSM, obviously. And
of course,
wow.
Yeah. And that was the first thing I did. One of my boys, Furno at the time, Hold Tight Furno, he had parents that were clearly kind of doing all right at the time in our area. And so we had like a little basic home studio, Hold Tight Nad. And then his parents always used to travel. So that's why I went and recorded my first mixtape just over loads of different instrumentals. Got a little kind of name in the area. And then there was the whole kind of like Saskilla, Hold Tight Saskilla, Hold Tight Boya, Hold Tight P. Saskilla at that time in my area, South London, Greenwich, the Greenwich Borough, Woolwich. Saskilla was one of the more prominent MCs at the time, and he had the connection.
Sass is going to be gassed about this.
Yeah,
boy.
so Sass...
This is going on Sass's Instagram tomorrow.
Yeah, no. So Sass, I'm just telling you how it is, bro. I was 15, 16 at the time, maybe 14 even at this time. And so Sass is the guy. So Sass is the guy that's going to East London, going to North, on the sets, coming back saying, yo, man knows Wiley,
He was about.
I know Wiley, I know them, man. And we were like the kids in the ends like, rah, I swear, what's it like over there, like across the water?
It's crazy.
Yeah, so that happened. And then after a while, we all just started hanging around, like youth club, everyone's spitting. There's no real crew. I then set up a crew with a few of my friends called Magic Circle at the time in the ends. We had our little magiccircle.tk website. Hold tight, everyone back in the day that knows about .tk.
No one had websites back then as well. You guys were early with that.
Yeah, so we had that, and like we weren't doing any gigs or anything, but we're spitting, doing sets, going on all these youth community radio stations in South. We'll go to Brixton and do one little thing there, Peckham, do one little thing there. So the name's kind of bubbling in the end. And then I'm still very young, like I'm 14, I'm 15. And then obviously Channel U emerges. So Channel U emerges, and then everyone's doing videos for Channel U. And a lot of people in my area, I feel like in London sometimes we have this kind of negative attitude. So a lot of people are like, bun that, man.
I feel like we was like Londoners were spoilt for a very long time, and like we felt like we're like, I don't know, a little bit entitled, if you like. And Londoners were always hard to please. You know, Londoners were always the first ones, like you say, to turn around and be like, no, bun that. No, I've had enough of that.
Yeah.
Channel U was kind of like a gateway for lots of that to be happening.
Yeah, and to be honest with you, I feel like a lot of the uninvited as well. So there's, you know, everyone knows in most scenes, most industries, there's influencers, there's gatekeepers. And like I said, you know, with all respect to everybody that was involved at the time, like it did feel like a very exclusive thing that belonged to a certain area. So Channel U was the way that the man from Luton could get his video out, might get a little like top 5 on Channel U, start doing a few shows. Or the kid from Southend, or do you get what I mean? People like myself that were from London but just couldn't really get into this thing. So I'm still spitting. Then I'm like, I want to do a video for Channel U, man. And then I've got a job at the time. I'm working at Supremo Glaze. So I'm like selling windows and all this kind of stuff, saving some money. I'm like, I want to do a video. Everyone's like, nah, bruv, it's dead. You can only be on MTV Base, bro. Only MTV Base at the time.
That was as good as it kind of
it was
looking.
Channel U. For urban artists, it was Channel U or MTV Base. So they're saying, nah, bro, like, at the time, Hold Tight Shiesty, Lady Sovereign, it was that kind of time.
That wave.
Miss Dynamite was incredibly successful, like, around that time, or just a bit before that time. So those were the people that were kind of making it on there. A few rappers with American accents, but we won't go into that.
There was a few lost guys.
Yeah, a few rappers with American accents as well, but hold tight them as well. Like, we're all just trying to get somewhere, to be honest. So then that happened, and then I thought, okay, I'm gonna shoot this video. Meanwhile, like I said, name's still bubbling in the end. So now, myself, Sass, Boya, we're all kind of hanging around MC, and I'm still with the Magic Circle lot, working with these other producers in South as well. And then Sass comes to me and Sass goes, they're going to do a competition. There's these guys, New Brand Flex, Richie Montana, Liffey. They're some crew in East, but they're just producers. Like, one of them made Eskimo Free. Like, it's busting up the place, but they want MCs, innit? So
sounded like the perfect opportunity.
Yeah, so like they're going to do like a little set. They want everyone to come down. I think we should go. Then he said, I want you to come. Then he's like, yeah, you should come. So I'm like, all right, cool. So then we go there now. I'm like 14, 15, like I said. We get there, we do the set. Long story short, eventually the guys from New Brand Flex are like, yeah, we want you to be part of the crew. So now we're in. We're in. But before then, I'll be honest with you, what we used to do, because I lived in Woolwich, where you can just get a tunnel. Basically, you can walk across the tunnel. You know where the ferry is.
Yeah.
And then you end up in a place called Silvertown.
Yeah.
Which is East London.
It's kind of like a back.
Yeah, so that was technically
kind of
our ends for a little bit. You know?
Yeah.
Kind of like, you know the ones like Woolwich by way of Silvertown.
Yeah.
So we would go from Woolwich, go through the tunnel, end up at Silvertown, and then we'd bump the train, we'd get on the train, end up at Stratford, jump out of Stratford, and now we're just in the mix. We're in the thick of it. So we're just these ambitious kids, I guess, just wanting to be part of this thing. We'd go to Roman Road, hold tight all the, where was what crew was Lady Shocker in?
Wolfpack.
Mucky Wolfpack.
Yeah.
Hold tight with the Mucky
God's
Wolfpack
Gift
crew.
as well. That
God's
was
Gift,
God's
of course.
At the time.
Yeah, so we'd just be around. Everyone's wearing academics, but we're just in the mix somewhere. So then now we end up in this crew. There's a little bit of a, certification there. Right, cool. And then we start going on radio. We start doing a few sets. And then Aftershock is the crew that is after us. So then they start bringing, sometimes back in the day, everyone just brought different MCs on their sets. So there was one time I then met S-Kid and then D-Dark and all these guys from, Hackney and Forest Gate and Ilford. So then became friends with them, all for the love of recording. I'm going to come to your house, you got a studio, this and that.
You're literally building like building relationships and building friendships with a load of guys over in East London and just kind of getting your foot into that door, if you like.
Yeah, definitely. And so then afterwards, I think it was D-Duck or S-Kid, they go, bruv, like, you know, Bruiser's like thinking about setting up this Aftershock, like youngest thing, innit? And like, bruv, like, I think you could be a part of it, but obviously I'm kind of like with New Brand Flex, but that's cool.
Yeah, but it sounds like this could be.
But Aftershock is like, bruv, like
Terror Danger, like,
bruv.
he was fully established.
Danger, bruv. Are you mad? Like he's doing shows in America and everything. Them times, like already, hard drive, all of that. So I'm thinking, rah, okay, cool. All right, Aftershock Junior. So I go for it. Long story short, because I don't want to bore you guys, but then we end up in this situation. So now I'm part of Aftershock. So I kind of let them man know. I'm like, guys, man, you know, this is East. This is like
the real East. The
this is
East.
it. You know that one. So then we do that. I'm Just Doing Me remix for Bruiser on Channel U.
Well.
Big up Bruiser every single time, man. That was like a great platform, great opportunity for me. Became friends with Terror, met the likes of like the Miss Brats and the DOKs, and you know, I used to do what I was doing, bump that train from Silvertown to Stratford, then get on a bus from Stratford to Forest Gate, where they all lived, and just hang out on their road. You know, his house was quite communal. So
everyone's... I think Terror still works out of that same yard.
Oh, my G.
I believe,
Yeah, man. Big up Terror every single time. So got to meet Flash and all those guys. And then was just part of that family for a while, but then I was still making Wifey and still getting ready to do all this other stuff. And then eventually I made the Wifey video, shot the Wifey video, done really well on Channel U, 10 weeks at #1 in the Channel U chart.
Like, the Wifey tune, I don't even know if you remember this, but like, there's a little bit of a story that kind of ties us together, because the first time I was ever on One Extra, we did, they invited us in to do a Roll Deep kind of takeover as an artist group rather than me as a presenter, but they liked it and they invited me back in to put together a Christmas, well, there was a group of us all putting together like a Christmas show, and they asked each of us, all got to pick one artist to come in and do a PA at Christmas, and my pick was you and Wifey, bro. Christmas.
Wow, man came and shut it down.
2006, bro.
Bro, it was mad. And to be honest, more power and thank you, brother, because that was one of the first times I came to One Extra. You have to remember, for a kid like me at that time, I'm 16 years old. When I got, it wasn't even in this building that we're in now.
It was the old building,
the old building, bruv. Like, this is where it is, bruv. This is it. When I'm in the room, everything's shiny, all the equipment's nice.
And this is like, when you've come from like some of these pirate stations, and you know, in those days, even in these days, like community stations are like, they've got real studio equipment and it's professional, and like some of the stuff that we were broadcasting from and on and using in those days, to step into a One Extra building.
Have you seen how beautiful the mugs are?
It's like a space.
The tea mugs are in this building.
That's what I'm saying.
It's ridiculous. The attention to detail is incredible. But yeah, so no, basically, so we were at that point now. I've shot Wifey, Wifey's happened, and then done really well on Channel U. Started doing PAs, like you said. You invited me down. Started, you know, booking fee went up. No more £50.
Listen, bro.
You know what I mean? No more £50.
We're going to take that up to like
no more
free bills.
Money.
We're going to go free bills first. We're going to work up from there.
And now you can't call me directly no more. You have to talk to someone in the middle. Cause
bruv, you definitely earned those first rights, bro. Come on, bro. So I think it's the right time to drop this quickly, man. This was like 10 weeks. 10 weeks.
10 consecutive weeks, #1.
And listen, Channel U days, that was equity.
That
was the same as going
hood,
#1 in the official charts.
I was feeling bossy, bro. I was very hood famous at the time.
Bro,
it was peak for me in the colleges.
100%.
It was peak for me in the secondary schools.
And a song like Wifey Rhythm as well.
Yeah.
It must have been, you know, being a young man, having a record like that out there at the time.
Yeah.
Must have been doing a lot for your ego as well, bro.
I was happy, bro. I felt like I was living in the American Pie movie, bro. Like, it was good. It was good times. But yeah, so basically, shall I carry on? Or
listen, I'm loving the story
the way it's
unfolding,
going.
bro. Yeah, man, this is what it's all about. Just getting that early story and having got to the success levels that you've got at. I'm sure hearing this story, a lot of people for the first time, will be mad inspirational, man. So
yeah, no, I appreciate that.
Feel free
bro.
to continue, bro.
All right, cool. So from Wifey then, so I've got this tune now. It's bubbling. Everything's going well. Then I'm doing gigs. My boy Jazz Deep is driving me to all these shows. He's helping me. Big up Jazz every single time. He's in his Peugeot 206, fresh, tinted, leather black. I think it was pleather seats at the back. Tom, navigation.
Uncomfortable in the summer.
It was amazing. It was amazing. Everything about we were living. Life was good. So we're doing all these gigs. And then one day I go to like a family party. My mum's like, you need to come to this family party. And I'm like, oh, another one of these like Nigerian parties. It's long. Especially now, man's a star. You know the one.
Too big for them family dudes now.
Yeah, but obviously because it's mumsy, so I went down, my whole family went down, and then my mum goes, all right, I want you to meet your cousin. This is your cousin Dumi. So this is your older cousin D. So I saw this guy, you know, he's looking very slick. And obviously, like, just older guy, had a rollie on. Jeez, and I was like, wow. I was like, okay. I was like, this is my big cuz. Okay, cool. So then I didn't stay there too long, and then I kind of left and kind of got on with what I was getting on with, just being a 16-year-old, doing gigs, going to studio, hanging around with my friends, all that kind of stuff, still living at Mumsy's house. And then I started, like, talking to Dumi more. No, actually, I carried on getting on with what I was getting on with. And then one day I was going to the cinema on a Friday. Me and my cousin used to always go cinema every Friday at that time. And so I just see one guy running out of Nando's. So this guy just starts running at me from Nando's, and I'm like, what's happening here? And then he's like, T, like, remember me? It's your cousin D. So I'm like, Dom, what's going on? Da-da-da-da. So then we exchange numbers, and then we start talking. And then long story short, after a few months, 6 months, bumping into each other at African parties, realising that we have lots in common, realising he lives kind of near to me. I saw him, he had his own house, he had his own car, everything that for me
was set up early, bro.
Yeah, everything for me.
Businessman from the get-go.
Yeah, he was 23. So everything for me that I, as a 16-year-old, I was like, I want to like be like this. Like I like how he's patterned up his thing, So then he was like, man, I want to, like, things are going well. I started hanging around with the Ironics at these times now.
Ironic was huge on Channel U, by the way, bro.
Yeah, he was.
He was kind of like running that thing at one stage.
He was, yeah. So at that time, Ironic was DJing for me. So he was playing Wifey. We were going and doing all of these sets. And then I was hanging around with him and all the North London ones, Hold Tight Chucky and Levels, and then all the, like, Crucial and people like that. And then Dumi was like, bro, man, I really think, like, after Wifey, we could really do this thing, like, properly. Like, you should try and, like go for it, you know, them ones. And I said, and he goes, I think, like, you need to be managed, and it needs to be, like, put in a proper, like, structure and whatnot. So obviously, I'm a kid, and I'm like, okay, cool, sounds good. But what about everything else that I've got going on? New Brand Flex a little bit.
Magic Circle parked up over there.
Magic Circle, like all these crews and all these people that I was affiliated with. And he goes, well, obviously, like the right thing to do is to go and talk to everybody about it. So I went, spoke to everybody, spoke to Terra, spoke to Flash, spoke to Bruiser, spoke to everyone, and was like, guys, I'm gonna just go and do my thing. And everyone was kind of just like, cool. It was quite straightforward. And then that's when I started making Hood Economics and Tears, and then we just started going for this, like, Channel U video, spend a bit of money on the video.
I remember Tears in particular being, as I started One Extra, that was one of the records that I always used to play in my early shows. I've still got on a CD actually from one of my first official shows on One Extra, and Tears was one of those records that I used to love mixing. It had that high-pitched sample.
Da Vinci
was on the productions. He was like the first shut down grime producer, if you like. He was just like real musical with it, classically trained. I think you had Cleo Soul on the vocals.
Yeah, she killed it. Hold tight, Cleo Soul. And at that time, to be honest, because there was the whole grime thing, but then there was the whole, like, Channel U kind of world, our culture was getting more musical as well. So it went from all these sets and 8 bars and then 16 bars and wheel-ups to now people actually making songs and people having bridges and hooks and collaborations and this and this and this and this. So then we're like, all right, cool. Let me try and make some proper songs then. So I'm like, hood economics. I'm like doing hooks. Room 147. I'm like, okay, that's a hook. I'm like, let's try that one. Then we did Tears. Then we got Cleo So involved. She came. She wrote the hook for that. Let's go to Da Vinci. He's a proper producer. You know, he'd worked on P's and Q's at the time. He'd worked on all these very, very big records that were starting to do well for other artists who were now, at this point, now in record label situations. So certain people from our culture started getting into record label situations, releasing records, and now they had crossed over into this other world. And so
it
now,
looked like the promised land. Like you'd look back and be like over in the distance, like there was just like, looked like there would be gold and like,
man, people
just
seemed like they
fun.
were going, like their life were changing. They were going on proper tours with big like mainstream artists of the time. You know, they were their songs were in the charts amongst
Videos
everybody else's.
shinier.
Their videos, no more MTV based in Channel U, bruv. It was Box Now, it was Kiss,
like
it
the
was
real MTV before MTV was like taken over by reality TV shows. They actually played videos.
When they played a lot of really good videos, really, really good videos. But now all these guys' videos were on every other channel now. And so that's when I started to make Tears. Yeah, I made Tears, man. And I said, let me go for it as well.
Da Vinci was like, he still is,
bro.
One of the best, man.
I remember when he did that NFL thing as well.
Oh, bro.
Come on, official.
Man was doing like actual like syncs on TV way
There was
before.
a lot of big stuff happening at that time as well, man. It was such a good time.
Big salute to Da Vinci, of course, that record. Like, I feel this was a real seminal time because like you mentioned, there was already some artists who had, you know, crossed over, if you like, been into major deals, started releasing music on a bigger level, and like you said, labels were starting to sniff around the scene. It wasn't the flourish that it is now. It was far from it. Like, if you got signed, if you got a deal, if you made it, in that respect, it was a rare thing. But people were kind of sniffing, and by the time you were making Tears, people were talking about Tinie Tempah, and your name was circulating those buildings, man.
Yeah. So there were some people that had been already like signed. There was like of course, Dizzy got a very seminal deal like in our culture and in our time. And then Wiley got a deal as well. And then Kano had like a really cool deal as well. And then there was all that Streets. Yeah. There was a time when, you know, Mike Skinner, big up Mike Skinner as well, started popping his head in and
Mitchell Brothers
really embracing the culture and the Mitchell Brothers as well. So that was all going on. And that was really exciting. And then at this time, yes, loads of people started to get signed. So then I think Tinie got signed. Ironic got signed because there was an app called MySpace at the time, and he had some crazy stats.
It's mad that you even have to like explain what it was.
Yeah,
but
bro.
It's like there's gonna be people listening who are like
MySpace.
I think I heard of that, but mad old. But that was like the first kind of app that we use in a social media way.
Yeah, so you could put like 4 tunes on it, and then you had like a top 8, which was all your friends, and people would put other MCs. You could switch your top 8 around.
That was mad. That whole, the politics around who was in your top 8 and who wasn't.
Peak, bro, man.
Like, why is she in your top 8? Or
peak,
how come man ain't in your top 8?
It's
and
peak, bro.
You found out that you could actually have top 32.
Yeah,
so you could
people started evolving their MySpaces, bro. It was mad. Once them graphic designers got involved, charging man £150 and that, it was peak. But yeah, so then there was all that stuff. Then DJ Ironic got signed, came in, and then had some like real like chart success. I think everything before then, there was like seminal moments and there was a lot of records being sold, but it was still quite like left field in the same way that they would talk about indie or something. You know, we see it at the festivals, but it
definitely wasn't. It wasn't like that mainstream.
In the conversation with everyone else. Like it wasn't, to be fair. So then Ironic came and had like a big chart success, and then that did really, really well for a bit, and then Tinie got signed, and then he had some phenomenal success, and then that's when that's when I guess Tinie and N-Dubs, that's when, you know, the gap had been bridged. But then it was weird, like I said, a lot of these artists, I'd say N-Dubs maybe more so than Tinie, but were from this uninvited world. You know, grime was definitely an uninvited world, but then Channel U and that world of urban
had started to make a world of its own.
Started to make almost like a cottage economy. They were doing their own gigs, their own tours, they were selling their merchandise, signing. First time I signed autographs was from something that was probably to do with one of my songs on Channel U. So then all of that is happening. But then once Tinchy and End Ups come, then now the bridge is gapped and everyone is the same.
Yeah.
You can get a number one, I can get a number
Yeah.
one. You can sell 1 million copies, I can sell 1 million copies. Bang.
Yeah.
Now the labels
Level
are like,
playing field.
whoa,
We
we need a lot of this. We need as much of it as we can get. So then they're looking. Obviously, there's still like loads of names, as you know, Target, bro. You're a DJ from this culture, from this scene. There's a lot more prominent names than myself, you know, at this time that are also in the conversation.
Yeah.
You know, so at the time I also have a blog. I have Milk and Two Sugars. So I'm going around, I'm filming everybody. I'm filming, you know, when I see Bashi somewhere, I'm like, yo, Bashi. I go to the Black Boy video shoot. He invites me because then this is when I start doing features with a lot more people from the scene and from the culture. So Bashi invites me to do the Black Boys remix. I meet a lot of people there. Wretch invites me to do the Be Cool remix. Scorcher invites me to do some music. Bruv, 1 minute I'm in this place meeting Mega Man and Bashi and Naughty Boy. Then the next thing I'm on a train to Southgate, North London. It's like Scorcher, chain on, Wretch, chain. I'm like, this is mad. This is crazy. This is crazy. So it's all happening, trying to kill the verses and that. Killing it, Wretch will put his arm around me like, bruv, you killed that, you know? I'm like,
It feels good. This
feels good. Yeah, and then I'm starting to get more involved in a lot of more like One Extra stuff. So Hold Tight, One Extra. Around that time, you know, I performed Tears at Rampage, you know, and then I did a wireless gig. So I've got this blog, all this other stuff is happening. My blog eventually gets to a point where I've got 1 million unique like users. It's Milk and Two Sugars. I'm filming everything myself, the culture, like selflessly.
Yeah. And there wasn't like, you know, there had been, you know, stuff documented on DVDs and stuff, but there wasn't like blogs as such, especially not from an artist perspective, you know, documenting the culture at the time. So that was getting a lot of attention.
Exactly, yeah, and it was positive as well, you know, because as much as I was trying to shine a light on what I was doing, I remember KIG had a remix at the time, Head, Shoulders, Knees and Toes.
UK Funky just went mad.
UK Funky House was going mad. Big up One Extra again for taking me to Iron Upper as well. First time I went to Iron Upper. So I've got my little red JVC, the one I rap about in Miami to Ibiza. I've got that. I bought that because I've got show money now. Thank God for the shows. Yeah. So now I'm filming every single thing. I do wireless. Wireless, for some reason, I put on my blog, I'm going to be at Wireless, right? I don't really have that many songs. I just have Tears, Hood Economics, Wifey, and then a whole bunch of like covers. Maybe some little grime tunes that I can just
put
spit
together
on.
Like a nice little 25 minute
a little
set.
25. I'll be forcing it, but we can get there. We can give them a big sing-along of someone else's song at the end. You know, just sing it.
Artists do that now, bro.
Yeah, one of those ones, yeah. So basically, I put that together, and then there was a record label called Parlophone that came down to Wireless, and there was an artist that they had called Impo. Big up Impo as well. She was on before me. Oh wow,
Impo, I remember Impo.
Yeah,
man.
Impo. So she was on before me, and her show was good. But then when I came on after, I even was with Sasha Keeble at the time, so big up Sasha Keeble. Wow. I brought her out. She was helping me do like backing vocals and even rapping backing vocals, singing, all that kind of stuff. And then for some reason, the tent at that time was just packed. It was the third stage, but it was packed, bruv, packed.
Wow.
As soon as I performed, Tears went off, everyone singing.
These are anthems though.
Yeah.
Like, these times now, like Channel U was becoming legendary, and if you had a record like you did that was big on Channel U, #1 in the charts, you were definitely able to shut down a venue. But I'm sure it still would have been a bit of a surprise to see a Ram Jam Wireless.
Yeah, at an actual festival, like an official festival with all these big names, big American artists like the Beyoncés of this world headlining it, 22 Rock Band, you know, Linkin Park or one of those ones. Like, I didn't think it was that deep, bro. You know the ones. So that happens. So then now the record labels start calling. Right, who's this kid? He's got this blog. He's rapping. He's MC. He's got this stuff on Channel U. What's happening? So a few labels start hollering, and then fast forward, I get into the conversation, and then I sign. We set up Disturbing London is already set up, but we create a situation where we license the record from Disturbing London to Parlophone EMI, and now via Disturbing London, and now I'm officially signed, and it is 2009.
Wow.
Yeah.
So we're talking end of 2009. the deal's done. I remember the time. I remember the news kind of hitting the roads like Tinie Tempah's been signed. And like you said, I even heard a couple of times like, wow, like
That's
how
what I'm
come they
saying.
didn't sign my man? Or what about? I know he had a couple of big tunes, but like why didn't like there was some like a bit of surprise as to maybe a couple of people have been overlooked. But I don't feel like people have really been paying attention to the full package of what you had been doing.
Yeah, and like I said, to be honest, man, like I don't really blame anyone or like hate anyone for that. I just think, like I said, bro, when you don't, everything is like an old boys club, innit? And it's like some people may feel like because I came from South London at the time, obviously I've always been a fan of grime and urban music. I've always rapped, I've always MC'd, but maybe some people just feel like, oh, I didn't go to school with my man. I don't know my man's mum and dad. You know, it might have been that. Like, who is he? You know,
especially around there was still a level of ignorance as well. A bit like I feel like in the last 7 years, 8 years almost since then, a lot has been. You know, people have grown up. The business has changed.
I
in
remember
the UK.
back then, brother, there was no social media.
Exactly.
So you can't like look at a man and just see what he's doing. Oh, he's been putting in the grind, or he's got shows here and there. It's not. It's just you either watch the person on Channel U, or you listen to them on pirate radio station, or One Extra, and then that's it.
Very few platforms at the time, man.
Yeah.
Parlophone Records, they signed you.
Yeah.
You were getting ready to, put the project together. You had some songs in the bag.
Yeah. So basically, no, we already had an album recorded. So it got to a point where they were like, my contemporaries started moving forward again. So more people were getting record deals, more people were having chart success, more people were winning awards, MOBO awards and all this. So it gets to 2008, 9, not winning anything. So then we're like, you know what? We're just gonna make our album anyway. So by the time Parlophone came, we already had our own studio and we already had a recorded and mixed album that we presented to them, which almost got us signed. And then when we got signed, and that's when we scrapped the album and then started from scratch. And then the first song that I made was Pass Out. Literally the first session, a guy called Labyrinth. I heard him on Master Shorty's stuff. Big up Master Shorty at the time. Like I was listening to all his stuff. I thought Labyrinth was some like indie guy from some different place.
And when you hear the name Labyrinth, of course, I immediately associated with like David Bowie in the film Labyrinth.
Do you get what I'm saying? So I thought it was on some left field, different kind of stuff. I didn't think it was from our world. I meet him, looks like me, same type of background, situation, same sort of family structure. And so we just got on, and then within 24 hours, then I just had this song called Pass Out.
Jeez. First session, bro.
Yeah, first session.
You do know this record changed like UK music culture forever. First session of the brand new album he was about to make for Parlophone Records. You must have been incredibly happy to find out or to hear the result. When you finished the record and went home and listened to it later on, as you would do, you take something out of the studio and get home and listen back to it, maybe with your team or by yourself. What were your initial thoughts?
Do you know what? It wasn't even like that. We had 2 sessions booked, so it was like 2 days in with Labs. The first day we made Pass Out. Again, what people don't realize when you sign a record deal situation, people can come into the room as a session guy and as it all guy. And Target knows, bruv, he's been there.
I've seen them.
You know them ones. So people are kind of doing that. Master Shorty comes in, Labyrinth's 2 stylists at the time come in. And then by the end of the day, like, as soon as I signed that record deal, there was something in my brain that was like, I have to make the most out of this opportunity, man. Like, I always felt like something was going to happen, but I wasn't sure. And now it has. I can't flop, basically. So first day we made Pass Out. I knew I had something special. Second day, we made Frisky and Wonder Man.
Oh, wow.
So in the first 2 days that I ever met Labyrinth, we made Pass Out, Frisky and Wonder Man. Like all in those 3 days. So then when I took those home, and Labyrinth, I have to be honest, he's a genius. We have geniuses in the hood. Yeah. They all just need the right platforms. We have so many geniuses in the hood. It was the first time I saw someone from our culture, from our country that produced so well, that was so multifaceted. He could play the guitar, but then he could make a mad hip hop beat. And he could sing, but he could rap, but he could do everything. And so then that was the first time that I took home a production, and obviously big up Flukes and everyone and all that from before, but that like had so many different layers to it. It didn't sound like an MP3. It was like a record that could compete with everything else.
I remember them playing it to us in the One Extra playlist meeting at the time. The DJs used to be on the committee and they were like, this is a track from Tinie. We're not sure if it's an official single, but it's a track that they want us to kind of get started or whatever. And I remember just everybody saying, whoa, that is, like, the initial reaction was, yeah, that is a banger, like just a straight club banger. That's gonna be, the hood's gonna love it, the roads, One Extra, of course, gonna be all over it. And literally, as the days and weeks started to progress, and every single DJ, not just on One Extra, but just, it went from urban DJs into like specialist DJs on Radio 1. Then it was like getting played on daytime way before you would have expected it to, and it was just taking on a life of its own. And just literally, I say it all the time, this record changed the direction of British black music culture, because at this time, especially around this time, man, like even like being a part of Roll Deep and so many other acts that were doing at the time, people were really bending the urban rules and doing stuff that was outside of, you know, a credible box to kind of to gain success, to get a Radio 1 play, to get into the charts. And this record gave a whole generation of rappers.
Yeah, and we also say that, and we do say loads of people had to compromise. But the other thing I understand, being in the situation that I'm in, is that there was also a lot of us, because we were so isolated and so uninvited, bruv. Man's excited to get out there, bruv. What this big producer from Brighton wants to work with me. What, and they can get me Sophie Ellis-Bextor on the hook. Yes.
It's true.
Yes. What, back then? Well, that's going to change my life. Do you get what I mean? So as much as people may look at it now and look back to a time where people think everyone was trying to compromise, no. It's like we had our own thing. Everyone was exceptionally talented at what they were doing, but it was this capped off, isolated world. And I feel like there was a lot of people at that time that felt, in order for me to continue to break out, I need to cross-pollinate what I do as well. And I'm even excited to do that and be in these rooms and try different stuff, because I've been doing this for the past 5-10 years.
Yeah, exactly.
Do you get what I mean? So I feel like there was an element of that. But yeah, you're right. It definitely did change the direction of things. And for me, bro, it was just a really nice, strong entrance. I felt like up until this point, I was trying. And this was the record that I guess everyone just understood.
Yeah, I think you definitely hit the nail on the head.
Brother, we thank God, man. Wow. And then it went from being like a warm-up single to, in 2010, the biggest selling song of that year.
Incredible, man. Like, this kick-started the album project as well. Of course, Discovery was the debut album, went on to be double, if not triple platinum. Triple platinum.
Yeah.
The number one single, like everything was just flying in. Like it was like Tinie is here and it's a takeover thing. Like this isn't a single and out. He's not gonna not make it to his album release. Like this is happening.
Yeah.
Crazy,
and
bro. You know, we're 7 years on from 2010 and Pass Out and everything that's happened, and you're about to drop your third album.
Yes.
Like, so much has happened in between then and now, of course.
Yeah, of course.
We've got like 8 minutes left.
Yeah, bro. I'm going to try and talk super fast.
It's mad, but like, so much has happened, you know. The most successful rapper the UK has ever seen, 7 number one singles, goodness knows how many millions of albums and singles combined sold, and streaming numbers and video views.
I don't even know.
And accolades, we're talking multiple Brits and Mobos and just being in rooms and places where people inspired to be in, man. It's been an amazing journey so far, and it's far from over, bro.
Far from over.
Youth drops Friday.
Yeah, Youth drops Friday, and all I will say with that is I think the one thing I always wanted to try and achieve or accomplish was like fulfilling my full potential as a human being, as a young black boy.
Yeah.
Do you get what I mean? Trying to make the most out of it, trying to overcome a challenge, and just trying to show everyone. And it's like, you don't have to show anyone anything, but I think within myself I wanted to show people a level of like excellence. Do you get what I mean? That we are excellence, like there is magic within us. And I think that that's what youth is about as well, because of the people that I was surrounded by at that time. All the MCs I named, all the producers, but then all my like older guys, older friends, OGs, older cousins, people that were going around doing other things in their lives that wasn't what I was doing,
Yeah.
wasn't MCing, and we're like living to tell the tale and coming back and saying, T, you know what, bro, just do your music thing, you know, because it's not as glamorous as it looks, you know, or one person, you know, has a crazy streak and then they don't, or this person, something bad happens to them. Do you get what I mean?
Yeah.
So as I'm growing up, and I'm tunnel visioned within music, I'm learning all of these lessons, you know, stay away from this, keep away from that, avoid that, bruv, don't worry about it, don't watch no face, da-da-da-da-da. And I feel like I've learned so much, especially with even the experiences I've learned on the other side of things as well. Just traveling, being around different types of people that aren't necessarily from my community, learning different things, getting involved in different things. I like to think that I've put the message in this record that there is magic within us, and if you can hopefully take from what I'm saying, because I don't like people thinking I just make records that make people feel happy. I am actually saying stuff in the record, but sometimes I feel like people are not listening because they just hear the beat and then they just go, oh yeah, okay, cool.
It's
but
Tinie
like,
again.
It's Tinie again. He's gonna come and try and get another one. Like actually listen to what I'm saying, and especially with this youth record, like really listen to it. I definitely believe that I have a magic within myself. I believe that there's so many talented artists now. Now that the floodgates are open, now that they've realized that we do have an equity and we do have an influence. Do you get what I mean? That is shaping the way British culture is evolving and changing. We need to embrace that, and I feel like youth is also a love letter to my city. If it wasn't for a little bit of my ambition, but also just being widely, you know, accepted with open arms by a lot of these people, even when they didn't have to, or if they didn't rate man, or they didn't think I was a bad man, or for all of that, like I'm so grateful, man, and I feel so blessed for what I've been able to achieve. This is far from it. I've got so much more to do. Hold tight now, the Rogues.
Bro.
Do you know what I mean? Just done Trapping Ain't Dead.
Jeez.
Girls Like
Jeez.
Passion Fruit.
Jeez.
Do you know what I mean? Killing it. Hold tight now, the Rogues. The whole Disturbing London Imhotep situation is very crazy. But yeah, I just hope that I put a lot of life lessons in there, you know, things that I've experienced over this roller coaster of a journey, you know, relationship stuff, family stuff, friends that were my people and now we're not cool anymore, madnesses that have happened to me that people may have never heard about. But I also, at the same time, don't want to just tell you the story. Like I like to put in, you know, little, you know, food for thought and little gems that you guys can hopefully, if you feel it, take from it, learn from it. And I think more importantly, this album is for the next generation and the next set of artists who want to come and do something great. Because like I said, you know, when I first met Labyrinth, I realized he was a genius, and there's so many more geniuses out there, man. And I want to help them. I want to empower as many of them as I can, support them, work with them. But I also just want to let them know, because I don't think sometimes that we're reminded enough.
This is why I thought it was real important just to have you in here, just to that early part of the story, especially because, you know, people see the glitz and glamour and they see the success and they don't often know about what's gone into it. So thank you for coming through and sharing with us, T. I feel like we need to end on a new record from Youth.
Yeah, let's do Holy Moly, man.
How about, Holy Moly?
Yeah, let's do it, bruv. This is my jam right now, bruv. It's going off on the tours, bro.
Jeez. Friday, you can grab the album. You can watch this back on the YouTube channel tomorrow evening. Big salute to everyone who's been involved. T, I feel like we're going to have like a part 2 of this in a few months.
When you're ready, bruv, just holler, man.
Sit, man. Tinie Tempah in the building for tonight's In Depth.